Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Georgie Gould, and I am the Project Assistant for Global Community Resourcing. I am pleased to be the moderator for today's webinar, the focus on which is cyber safety as part of International Safer Internet Day. 2018 International Safer Internet Day theme is Create, Connect and Share Respect. A better internet starts with you, which is a call to action for every stakeholder to play their part in creating a better internet for everyone. Our webinar today is facilitated by Community Resourcing for the Community Care Smart Assistive Technology Collaborative. If you're joining us from previous webinars, you'll know that they are designed from feedback and requests we receive through the collaborative. The focus of our webinar is to bring together local, national and international perspectives in research and development, as well as the deployment of smart assistive technology in the community care sector. Global Community Resourcing has extensive international linkages, and we have been fortunate enough to work on many international projects and research entities. Just a reminder that if you haven't formally registered at the collaborative site, it is accessible to all and free to register. Please note that neither Global Community Resourcing or the Department of Communities, Child Safety and Disability Services are promoting or endorsing any particular product, research or organisation. The purpose of our webinars is to serve and to inform viewers of various smart assistive technologies currently in development or in deployment. We welcome any questions, but I will let you know that all microphones have been muted. This is in the interest of recording. Your questions can be added to the question panel on the dashboard on the right of your screen. There will be an opportunity for your questions to be answered at the end of the session. At previous sessions, we have been inundated with questions, so the earlier you post your questions, the more questions we can respond to. Today we are hosting our webinar from Anglicare Southern Queensland Cleveland office, who has partnered with us on today's webinar. As part of our digital inclusion project, we are rolling out with Anglicare Southern Queensland. We hope to share findings from this project later in the year. In this webinar, Doug Parnich will explain the importance of cyber safety and what cyber safety actually is. The webinar will focus on the basics of cyber safety, including scams, viruses, and antivirus software. Doug Parnich is the project digital trainer for the Digital Inclusion Project. Doug became a Queensland digital champion through his role in teaching seniors about new technology as a trainer at Logan City Council Libraries for the Tech Savvy Senior Queensland program and the Technology Trend Setting program. As part of his role, Doug also trained the Logan Library staff in Android technology to enhance their skills and to improve their ability to access information online and assist library users. Doug has a degree in computer science and has run his own business as an IT technician. Welcome, Doug, and take it away.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Georgie. Today, we're going to talk about cyber safety and how it basically affects everyone who's using the internet. So what is cyber safety? Well, I guess if you want to have a look at the definition that I pulled up from Wiki directly up onto the screen, it's a very clinical definition. Basically, it reads, cyber safety is trying to be safe on the internet and is the knowledge of maximizing the user's personal safety and security risks to private information and property associated with using the internet and self-protection from computer crime in general. As I said, it's a very clinical definition of what cyber safety is. I like to break it down just to make it very, very simple so everyone out there who's listening can understand what exactly is meant by cyber safety. Basically, anytime we access the internet, there is a chance that some of our data can be exploited. So we need a way to minimize anything bad that happens while we're using the internet. This can be through a number of things that we're going to actually talk about today. Okay, so cyber safety. Today, we're going to break it down into 3 different areas. Now, first one is malware. Now, malware is short for malicious software. A lot of people, when I ask them about cyber safety, one of the biggest major concerns they have is viruses. Now, a virus, they tend to clump all bad things as a virus. Virus is only one subset of malware, and that's what we're going to have a look at now. So here's a quick little diagram explaining what is actually malware or malicious software. It's basically divided up into 7 different subcategories, ranging from viruses, Trojans, rootkits, worms, spyware, crimeware, and adware. So let's have a look at viruses first. What is a virus? Well, have you ever wondered why they call it a virus? Well, to give you a quick explanation, they named it after a biological virus. If we think about our body itself, when we get sick, our body is infected by a biological virus. It then infects our cells inside our body. It then mutates and continues to infect other cells inside our body. Basically, that's what makes us feel sick. When computer viruses first started coming out in the 1960s, they noticed that computer viruses behaved very similar to biological virus. Hence, that's why they named them viruses. But a virus is basically any type of malicious software that, when executed or when it's run, will replicate itself by modifying other computer programs and inserting its own code. Now, the key feature here is it needs an actual file for it to continue spreading. A virus will not continue to spread if there's no other means for it to actually propagate around or go around. Just like a biological virus, if it's stuck to one human, it will pretty much die itself out. Humans, by touching other people, sneezing on other people, that's how we spread the virus. That's exactly how a computer virus will spread around. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Trojans. Trojan is any malicious computer program which misleads users into its true intent, i.e. the Trojan horse. So I know you probably haven't done much history for a while, but if you all think back to your ancient history, the Greeks laid siege to the city of Troy. The Greeks saw they couldn't win, so they left back a wooden Troy and hid a bunch of soldiers inside it. The inhabitants of the city pulled the horse into their nice city, and at night, while everyone was asleep, all the Greeks jumped out and killed all the people inside the city. Anyway, that's a history lesson. The actual Trojan itself basically does the same thing. It's a program that you think is benign. It is something that you downloaded off the internet. It's something that you've been after. What you don't realize is hidden inside the actual program is some type of malware. It can vary from adware to crimeware to some type of a virus, but basically it tricks you into thinking, yes, this is a benign program, whereas it's in fact some type of a virus. They are fairly common, and we do come across them. Rootkits, this is one that we don't sort of come across too often. A rootkit is a collection of computer software, typically malicious, designed to enable access to a computer or areas of its software that would otherwise be allowed. Now, the easiest way to explain a rootkit, imagine a piece of software where you would have to log in with some type of username and password. Only the people who had the username and password were allowed to log into this particular website or this particular bit of software. By installing a backdoor, you bypass any security that has been added onto the website or to the software, and you can then gain access to that website or software anytime you like. They are becoming more and more common, rootkits. They are very, very difficult to detect, but basically they're there to allow you a way in by bypassing any type of security that has been added onto that computer, that website, that particular software by the actual owners. Worms. Worms are a computer worm is a standalone malware computer program that replicates itself in order to spread to other computers. Now, basically it's a virus. The difference between a worm and a virus is that a virus will continually need files or programs to infect. Once there are no more programs or files to infect, the actual virus will basically stop. A worm, on the other hand, is a standalone program. It doesn't need files or programs to infect. It is its own file or program that will continue to go around the network infecting other programs as such. They do exploit vulnerabilities in your software. Now, I'm going to talk a bit more about this a bit later on, but the easiest way to stop worms is to keep your software updated. Spyware, this one's very, very common. Spyware is software that aims to gather information about a person or an organisation without their knowledge, that may send such information to another entity without consumers' consent. So, in a nutshell, it's basically information that will spy on you, record your keystrokes. One of the most common pieces of spyware is a keystroke tracker. So every time you type a key, it will record that information in a file and send that information back to the owner, whether that be a credit card number, some type of login to a company program. It will basically keep track of what you're doing on the computer. Crimeware, this one is quite a serious one. Crimeware is any computer program or set of programs designed to expressly to facilitate illegal activity online, more commonly known as ransomware. If you can remember back to last year, we had a spate of crimeware infections going around the small business community in Australia. So what would happen is an unsuspecting person working for a business would open up an email. In the attachment would be the infected program. The next morning, they would turn their computer on and up would pop this message saying your computer is infected with this ransomware. It has locked away all of your important files, so your Word documents, Excel documents, PDFs, any type of important information. It is now encrypted, and unless you want that data back, you need to pay the ransom. The ransom has varied from a couple $100 to a couple of $1,000. What normally happens is you pay the ransom and they unlock your data. Unfortunately, on quite a few occasions, people have paid the ransom, they've unlocked the data, but then 2 weeks later, they've relocked the data for you. Or what has also happened, they've unlocked you've paid the ransom, but they've never unlocked the data. Now, the unlocking of the data is very, very difficult, and very few people have been able to unlock the data itself. The only true way to stop ransomware is to basically have good backups. Like I said, the data is most probably lost because we can't unlock it. If we can go back to a previous version of your data, it's been the only way that I know of to actually get around crimeware. Unfortunately, it is quite a serious threat. And it's one that's just going to get bigger and bigger. Adware. Well, as the name suggests, adware is designed to display advertisements on your computer and redirect your search requests to advertising websites to collect marketing data about you. This type of malware has been around since the dawn of the internet. Again, because the internet is unregulated, it makes it very, very easy for people to create adware and basically collect information about you. Then they can use that information to target you regarding ads, regarding basically any type of marketing that they see fit. Usually they're pretty easy to get rid of. Most of the decent antivirus programs out there will find the usual forms of adware. It's annoying, I know, like I said, it's been around for a long time. A lot of people have just gotten used to it, but it is still one of the problems that we face while on the internet. Okay, the next topic that we want to talk about is scams. Scams are very, very common out there, and they come in a range of different types of scams. So what is a scam? Well, a scam is a term used to describe any fraudulent business or scheme that takes money or other goods from an unsuspecting person. Scams have been going since pretty much the dawn of time. The Spanish prisoner or the Nigerian scam is a very, very old scam dating, well, the Spanish prisoner one dates back to the 18th century. The Nigerian scam, we've all most probably seen that ourselves. Why they chose Nigeria, I don't know. Basically, it's a type of scam where you receive an email saying, if you help out this person, you will be rewarded. Again, a lot of people know about the Nigerian scams. It's the younger generation coming up through who don't know about the scams. These are the people who need to be educated about it. Other types of scams that we've seen are the unexpected winnings. again, an email comes in saying you've won $100 million in the Irish lottery, or you've won £350,000 through some type of winnings. To collect this money, all you have to do is basically send them your details and they will transfer the money. What normally happens with these types of scams is that over a period of time, they require more and more information from you. And in some cases, they will even ask money from you. Again, a very, very common type of a thing. A lot of people have been exposed to it, so they do know about it. It's usually the young generation and the older generation who tend to fall for these types of scams. Dating and romance, again, a very, very common type of a thing. We all enjoy company. We are all using some type of app-based program to try and find a partner. It's when people get onto these type of apps that will usually revolve around trying to extort money from you. Again, a very, very common one out there. Buying and selling, we've all tried to buy stuff off eBay, or we've all tried to sell stuff off eBay or even Gumtree. Unfortunately, other people have gotten onto those means as well, and they are going to try and extort money from you in one way or another. Jobs and investments, again, very, very common. People looking for jobs will usually get an email or some type of a communication to say, yep, we have the perfect job for you. Please fill in this information and we will hook you up with a nice job. Again, it all comes down to getting personal information from you, or in some cases, some type of money that they want from you. Investments, we've all heard the expression, if it's too good to be true, then it usually is. Anyone offering large sums of money returned back to you for a small investment, like I said, it's usually too good to be true. We all want to get rich. We all want to make money. Unfortunately, we tend to take shortcuts, and that's where these type of scams are very effective. Okay, understanding the threats and where they come from. Okay, the most common ways to get infected through email attachments. This is by far still the #1 way of how we get infected. Infected websites, just by merely going to a website. Not all websites. If you're searching around the deep dark web, then yes, you're more likely to get infected. A lot of main websites are perfectly safe. It's when we start going to these other less dubious sites that we start to have problems. So the mere fact of you clicking on that link and going to the website then infects your computer. Infected media, this again through schools and universities, very, very common. You take a flash drive that you've been working on a school project at home and not realizing that your computer at home is infected. When you plug your flash drive into your home computer, the flash drive gets infected. You then take your flash drive to school to continue doing your project. As soon as you plug that media into your school computer, it doesn't have to be a school computer, it can be a friend's computer. The moment you plug that media into some other computer, that computer then gets infected as well. A very, very common way of spreading lots of malware. Phishing and clicking on hyperlinks. Again, a very, very common way. I'm going to show you a few examples of what I mean by this, but phishing is a very common way of enticing people to click on hyperlinks, which will then redirect you to an infected website, which will then start causing problems. So through emails, how do we get infected through emails? Well, it's through the attachments themselves. On the screen in front of you, you'll see a standard email, and there are 3 types of attached files. The first one is a Word document. If you have a look at the end of the actual file name, so note from friend.doc, the .doc tells me it's a Word document. The next one says monthly expenses.xlsx. Everything after the dot tells me what type of a file format it is. In that case, that's an Excel file. And the third one, image_7686.jpg. The .jpg tells me it's a photograph or a JPEG. those extensions at the end of the file names or those letters after the dot tell me the file formats. Now, knowing which file formats are good and which ones are bad will definitely help you and prevent you from getting infected. There are certain file formats that you should just stay well away from. Whenever you receive an email and there are attachments, have a look at the extensions or the file formats to understand what they are. In the next slide here, the good, the bad, the ugly, what I've basically written out is what are the bad extensions. So .exe is an executable program. .pif, again, another program. MSI, MSP, .com, .scr, .jar, BAT, .vbs, .js, .inf are all programs that will basically do something whenever you click on the attachments. These are ones that if I see in an email, there is absolutely no reason for someone to be sending those in an email. As soon as I see those in an email, I can pretty much delete the email as such. Now the good ones, .docx, XLSX, PPTX, MP3, MP4, PDF, these are all known and standard file formats that we will email around from friends, families, businesses. These are the stuff that you will be receiving all the time. Now, there's a little asterisk at the end of that line. I've put on that they are good. In most cases, they are good. For example, .mp3 is an audio format. It's a compressed audio format. We've been dealing with .mp3s for decades now. It's a standard audio format. I didn't think it was possible to infect an MP3 file. Sure enough, they figured out a way to infect an MP3 file. Same as an MP4 file, same as a JPEG, same as a PDF. I have put them under the good banner, but be aware that there are ways to infect these files. So just by seeing them there, I'd be very suspicious. It all comes down to where you get your music, where you get your movies from. If you start downloading music and movies from, I guess, the bad areas of the internet, there's a very good chance that that audio or those videos are going to be infected. If you download your music from Apple or from other sites where you can download music, there's a very good chance that it's not going to be infected. Like I said, it all comes down to where you get this data from. Now, special consideration, I've got a few files there called .zip, .rar, and .7z. These are what we call compressed file formats. Best way to explain these, think of them as an envelope. So the envelope is the zip file, the RAR file, or the 7z file. The problem is what's inside the envelope. It could be a Word document, an Excel document. It could be an executable. It could be a COM file. It could be a jar file. So the actual zip file and the RAR file, perfectly fine. We need to have a look at what's inside it. And if we see Word documents, Excel documents, fine. But if we start to see any of those bad ones, then yeah, that's definitely something to stay away from. Okay, redirecting to fake websites. This is where it comes down to hyperlinks and going to different types of websites. Now, I've got an image of a Facebook website up there for you. Now, just to explain you what I'm trying to do here is you've Googled Facebook. You've then clicked on the first link that has taken you to this particular website. You're thinking, that looks perfectly fine. It's Facebook. I'll just log in. What you don't realize is that, in fact, it's a fake Facebook page. The only way that you would notice it is by having a look at the address up in the address bar. Now, it's a bit hard to see, but it actually says facebook.biz. This is not Facebook's website. Facebook website is actually facebook.com. And this is becoming more and more common. People will click on hyperlinks and it'll take them to fake websites. It looks perfectly exactly as it should. Most people won't even look twice about it. They will put in their Facebook username and password and it'll say, sorry, no, you cannot log into Facebook. You're thinking, oh, maybe Facebook's down. What you don't realize is if they're now recorded your Facebook details, they can now get into your Facebook account and do some pretty serious stuff. So be aware of when you click on hyperlinks and click on different links, are you actually going to the correct website? Have a look at the address bar and take note, is this the correct website? We know a lot of the more popular websites that we go to, Instagram.com, Facebook.com, they're all pretty much well known. Be aware of where you click. Okay, infected media. As I spoke earlier on about this, USB flash drives are notorious for spreading malware. So before you plug it into your drive or the computer and open up any files on it, please scan them first. Think about where that drive has actually come from and who has had it before you. In most cases, it's safe to plug the drive into your computer and open up File Explorer. You will then see the USB drive listed down the left-hand column. If you right-click on the flash drive and select Scan for viruses, it will then use your antivirus scanner to then scan the flash drive and see if there's anything bad on there. If it comes back and says, nope, there are no viruses, by all means then go in and open up any stuff on there. If it comes back and says, yes, you have some infections, then I'd think twice about opening up any information that's on those drives. Unfortunately, we just are very casual about plugging in media into our personal computers, into work computers, not realizing that they are in fact infected. And by sticking it in, opening up those files, we've now infected the computer that we've actually plugged it into. So please be aware of infected media. Phishing, again, a very, very common one. So phishing basically revolves around you receiving an email and it's then asking you to do something. In most cases, it wants you to log into something or to provide some information. Now, this is a very, very common phishing email that most people will receive. Now, I've outlined a few key things here. If you have a look at the top, it says from Webmail Help Desk, but if you have a look at the email, it's not from any known company that you would think of. Have a look at the email of who sent you this particular email. If you don't recognize the email, chances are it's not going to be good. In the actual message, what you'll often find is poor grammar or overuse of capitals. A lot of these phishing emails originate from non-English speaking backgrounds. So if you have a read of the message there, it says this message was sent automatically by a program on the webmail. Doesn't sound too good. Your mailbox quota has been exceeded, the set quota limit, which is 20 gigabytes. They've used far too many capitals there. Like I said, grammar is not going to be their first language. They're always going to make some type of a threat. You must validate your account. Failure to validate your webmail quota may result in loss of it. Basically, they want you to act impulsively. By reading that information, you start to feel a bit strange, which means you're threatened. By being threatened, you have to act. That's exactly what they want you to do. They usually ask for some personal information. In this case, this is a phishing email regarding your username and password to access some type of webmail. So they want you to basically validate that you are the owner of this email by entering in your email address and password. Once they get access to that information, they can actually do some serious damage. And the last bit there's no type of contact information. If this was a serious email, they would list some type of contact information where you can contact the business or the person and inquire as to what's happened regarding my email account. At the moment, there's no information in there. So when you receive an email like this, have a look at certain things. Like I said, grammar is one of the first things that I look at. Is there some type of a threat? That's the next thing that I'm looking at. A lot of them will pose as large companies like Visa or banks, for example, Westpac, Commonwealth Bank, ANZ. They will usually include a logo. Have a look at the logos. I came across a phishing email from the Commonwealth Bank, or supposedly from the Commonwealth Bank. We all know what the logo looks like. It's a yellow diamond with the black bit on the right-hand side. The logo that I saw had the black bit on the left-hand side. So obviously somewhere they got it wrong. Have a look for errors like that. That's the easiest way to spot a phishing scam. Like I said, anytime someone asks you for personal information, username, password, stuff like that, I would be suspicious as to what they're after. Now, identifying malicious links. Now, the image on the left is basically another email that a person has received. But if you have a look at that blue text, the blue text is basically a hyperlink. So to reply to this message, follow the link below. By clicking on that link, it's now going to redirect you to a website. Now, this supposed email was from Caroline saying, hi, this is I'm a friend. If you want to contact me on Facebook, please click on these links below. You're thinking, oh, I probably know some Caroline. I will click on the link and see who she is. What you don't realize is that actual link is fake. And by clicking on that link, it takes you to an infected website. Before you know it, your computer's infected, and that's when things start going wrong. So hyperlinks, be very, very careful as to what you click on when you receive an email. Now, the right-hand image, this was a screen capture that I did to sort of show you how we can look at hyperlinks. So what I've done is I've just done a quick search in Google for Boosted Boards Australia. Now, the first link at the top is for Boosted Boards official website, boostedboards.com. And then underneath that, in the green area, it actually lists their website. Now, to verify if that is a true website, the easiest way to do it is to hold your mouse above it. Don't click on the actual blue line. All you have to do is hover your mouse above it. It changes from the arrow to a pointing finger. What that does then is basically interrogate the website. If you have a look in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, it says https://boostedboards.com. So by hovering the mouse over it, it will now tell you where the website, well, which website it's going to send you to. So what you can do here for any type of a hyperlink is put your mouse over the actual blue text. Have a look in the bottom left-hand corner of the actual screen. It'll tell you the actual website. If you're going to Boosted Boards and it says something completely different down there, that's when I would start to be suspicious. There's no reason for it to say something completely different. I would not click on that particular website. Chances are something bad's going to come about from it. So anytime you see the blue text, it refers to a hyperlink. And by clicking on that hyperlink, we're hoping that it's going to take us to the website that we want to go to. But if you hover your mouse over it, it'll change to a pointing finger. Remember, don't click on it, just hover the mouse over it. Have a look in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. It will then show you the website that it's going to take you to if you actually clicked onto it. If that website doesn't match up to the green text underneath it, something's not right. Okay, antivirus software. One of the biggest questions I get asked about is which one is the best? Well, as far as I'm concerned, how long is a piece of string? Unfortunately, there is no right or wrong answer. There are so many different antivirus programs out there. They all are very good. To give you an idea, from the research that I've done, antivirus programs are only about 50% effective. The other 50%, you're pretty much on your own. So what it comes down to is that it's really up to you. There are so many different types and brands out there. For example, we've got Norton, we've got BullGuard, we've got McAfee, we've got Trend Micro, we've got AVG, Kaspersky, probably the top 10 there. Very, very common, very, very good, but they are not 100% effective. So just by having an antivirus software program on there doesn't mean that you're going to be 100% covered. So please do not think that. As far as I'm concerned, there isn't a best one. They're all as good as each other. What I do recommend is that if you do find one, stick with it. Don't chop and change. Try one for a couple of months or for a year, go buy another one. It takes time for that software package to learn what you do on the internet, especially firewalls. It'll take time for the actual firewall to learn what's good and what's bad. If you start to chop and change antivirus programs, you're just going to have to go through that all over again. One thing that I will mention about antivirus programs is there's always free versus paid. Paid antivirus programs are usually an annual subscription. So if you go the paid method, by all means, but be aware that it is an annual subscription. So every year you have to pay X amount of dollars to keep that software running on your computer. The antivirus programs come in quite a few different types. There are usually 3 different types. The basic antivirus program, and by basic I mean it's just an antivirus program, does the job quite well. Then we have the suite, or the Internet Security Suite. Usually involves an antivirus program, some type of a firewall, and some type of a malware scanner as well. Usually a bit more expensive, but you're getting a few extra programs to protect you. Then the third one we usually have then is the premium package. This basically has everything. The problem is a lot of people think that by paying the most and going to the premium package, they're going to get the best protection. In most cases, this is not true. A lot of people go for the more expensive one. In fact, they don't even use half of the things that are on there. In that case, you can probably switch down to the Internet Security Suite or even just the antivirus program. Have a think about what you do on your computer. Do you need the backup program? Do you need the ransomware protection? Do you need all these extra bangs and whistles that they sell you in the premium package? In most cases, most people can get away with just the Internet Security Suite, which is the mid-range one. The third one, free versus paid. This again has been a big question that I'm asked quite often. I've always been a paid version. Currently, I use BullGuard. As far as I'm concerned, it's a very good antivirus program. People swear by free ones, AVG free. I'm going to leave that up to you. Like I said, I tend to go the paid way. A lot of people swear by the free way. Like I said, it's pretty much up to the user as to which one they prefer. Now, you're the best antivirus out there. As far as I'm concerned, the best antivirus is the person behind the keyboard. Through knowledge and understanding of how things work on the internet and the World Wide Web, we can reduce the chance of being infected. Previously, I mentioned that antiviruses have roughly a 50% chance of detecting. The other 50% is the person behind the keyboard. Understanding where you're surfing on the internet, understanding what you're downloading from the internet, this will protect you the other 50%. There's a lot of information out on the internet regarding how to protect yourself on the internet. Please have a look at that stuff. Like I said, you're the best antivirus program out there. Okay, do we have any questions?
Thank you, Doug, for your presentation. Yes, we do have questions. I can see in the side panel that there have been questions throughout the webinar, so thank you for them. We probably only have the time for a couple. I can see Graham has asked, how can I protect myself or my device?
Okay, well, we spoke a bit about antivirus programs. This is by far the #1 way to actually protect yourself and your devices. Desktop computers, laptop computers, there are antivirus programs out there that you can buy, as well as the free ones out there. Smart devices, yes, there are antivirus programs that you can get for smart devices. It's really a matter of what you're going to do with those smart devices. Now, by smart devices, I mean either a tablet or a smartphone. Now, a bit of explanation, the difference between a computer and a smart device. When we have a look at a desktop or a laptop computer, we're either running Windows or we're running Mac OS X. They're usually the main 2 operating systems. Now, have you ever heard of a Mac computer being infected by a virus? Not too many people complain about Macs being infected. There is actually a reason why. If we have a look at the market share, Windows has an 89% market share globally. Mac OS X only has a 7% market share. Now, if I'm a big bad hacker or person writing viruses, who am I going to target? Windows or Mac? The big one or the small one? I'm going to target the big one. So by having Windows, yes, you're going to be targeted more often by viruses and by bad things that are out there. So yes, I would definitely look at some type of a virus for a Windows-based computer. For a tablet and a smartphone, again, it comes down to what you do with this actual device. But by buying a subscription to an antivirus, you can actually use one of the licenses on your smart devices. So you can protect smart devices as well.
That goes on to Linda's question. Do I need to worry about antivirus software for my smart device?
At this point, I would probably say no. A lot of people do offer antivirus programs for smart devices. Like I said, when you buy a subscription, an annual subscription, they give you 3, 4, even 5 licenses. So with the licenses, when you buy an antivirus program, you're given 3, 4, even 5 licenses. What this means is you can install 1 license on a desktop, 1 license on a laptop, and if you really want, you can put 1 license on your smart device. Now, earlier I mentioned the market share of Windows as opposed to Mac OS X. When it comes to smart devices, we're now talking about Android and iOS, which is Apple's version. Now, the market share for Android is roughly 65% globally. For iOS, it's only 30%. So it comes down to which device you have. Like I said, they're going to target the larger share. So that's the Android platform. If you've got an Android device, whether it be a smartphone or a tablet, it may make sense to put an antivirus on there. It comes down to what you do with that device. If you're just doing your general email and Google searches, probably not. But if you start delving into the deep dark web, then you're probably asking for problems. But yes, you can get an antivirus for your smart devices.
Thank you for that, Doug. That's probably all the time we have for questions. If you haven't already done so, please go online and register for the collaboration. You will be able to access today's presentation and have the opportunity to ask further questions. Before we end today's session, I'd like to let you know of some of our upcoming events. In July this year, we will be hosting the Singapore and Japan study tour, which includes our participating in the International Congress of Smart Homes and Health Telematics, also known as the ICOS conference. The theme for this year's conference is design, where participants will discuss their experience in design, development, deployment and evaluation of assistive and telehealth systems, as well as ethical policy issues. The tour will consist of aspects of living labs and use of assistive technology in community care setting, and will take in several sites and activities in Japan and Singapore. We also have another webinar coming up featuring Dr. Ian Opperman, CEO and Chief Data Scientist of Data Analytics Centre. The webinar will be on the endless possibilities of using big data to increase quality and productivity of the community care sector. The webinar will be held on the 21st of February from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Please check the collaborative for more information on these upcoming events. I would like to thank the members of the collaboration research team, the Queensland Government, Anglicare Cleveland for allowing us to host our webinar at their venue, and today's speaker, Doug Parnich. Thank you everyone for attending today's session.